After Darius crossed the Hellespont and reached Sardis, he remembered how Histiaeus of Miletus and Cois of Mytilene had helped him. He summoned them and offered rewards. Histiaeus, already ruling Miletus, asked for the Edonian territory of Myrsinus to establish a city there. Cois, being an ordinary citizen rather than a ruler, requested to become tyrant of Mytilene. After both received what they wanted, something caught Darius's attention that made him order Megabazus to conquer the Paeonians and relocate them from Europe to Asia. 2 Paeonian men, Pigres and Montius, who wanted to rule their people, came to Sardis with their sister. They dressed her impressively and sent her to fetch water, with a jar on her head, leading a horse by a bridle on her arm, while spinning flax. When she passed by Darius in the Lydian city's outskirts, he noticed her unusual behavior. It matched neither Persian, Lydian, nor any Asian custom. He sent guards to observe her actions. They watched as she watered the horse at the river, filled her jar, and returned the same way, carrying water on her head, leading the horse, and spinning. Darius, amazed by the reports and his own observations, had her brought before him. His brothers, who had been watching nearby, came too. When Darius asked about their homeland, the young men identified themselves as Paeonians and said she was their sister. He inquired about the Paeonians' location and their purpose in Sardis. They explained they came to submit to him, that Paeonia lay on the Strymon River near the Hellespont, and that they descended from the Teucrians of Troy. Darius then asked if all women in their land were as hard-working as their sister. They eagerly confirmed this, revealing that demonstrating this quality had been their exact intention. Darius wrote to Megabazus, his army commander in Thrace, ordering him to remove the Paeonians from their homeland and bring them, men, women, and children, to the king. A mounted messenger quickly carried this order to the Hellespont, crossed over, and delivered it to Megabazus. After reading it and obtaining Thracian guides, he marched toward Paeonia.
When the Paeonians learned of the Persian advance, they assembled their forces and marched toward the coast, expecting the attack from that direction. However, the Persians, hearing that the Paeonians guarded the sea entrance, took the upper route with guides. They bypassed the Paeonians undetected and attacked their undefended cities, easily capturing them. When the Paeonians discovered their cities had fallen, each tribe dispersed to their own territories and surrendered to the Persians. Thus, the Syro-Paeonians, Paeoplians, and tribes up to Lake Prasius were relocated to Asia. The peoples around Mount Pangaeum, the Doberians, Agranians, Odomantians, and those at Lake Prasius itself, remained unconquered by Megabazus. He attempted to remove even the lake dwellers, who lived in a unique way. They built platforms on tall poles in the lake's center, accessed by a single narrow bridge from shore. Originally, everyone helped set these poles, but by custom, each man who married brought 3 poles from Mount Orbolos for each wife and installed them as supports, and men took multiple wives. Each family occupied a hut on the platform with a trapdoor opening to the lake below. They tied their infants' feet with rope to prevent them from rolling into the water. They fed their horses and livestock fish, which were so abundant that lowering an empty basket through the trapdoor and waiting briefly produced a full catch. 2 fish varieties existed, called paprox and telon. The conquered Paeonians were being transported to Asia when Megabazus, after subduing them, sent 7 of his most distinguished officers as envoys to Macedonia to demand earth and water from King Amyntas for Darius. From Lake Prasius, the route to Macedonia was short, first passing a mine that later yielded a talent of silver daily to Alexander, then crossing Mount Disoron into Macedonia. These Persian envoys arrived before Amyntas and demanded earth and water for King Darius. He agreed and invited them as guests, preparing a lavish feast and receiving them hospitably. After dinner, during the toasts, the Persians said, "Macedonian host, our Persian custom when holding great banquets is to bring our concubines and wives to sit with us. Since you welcomed us readily, entertain us magnificently, and are willing to give Darius earth and water, please follow our custom." Amyntas replied, "Among us, men and women are kept separate. But since you as our masters make this additional request, it shall be granted." He sent for the women, who came when summoned and sat opposite the Persians. The Persians, seeing the attractive women, told Amyntas this arrangement was poorly conceived. It would be better if the women hadn't come at all, rather than sitting opposite them, being a torment to their eyes. Compelled, Amyntas had them sit beside the Persians. Soon the intoxicated Persians began touching the women's breasts, and some attempted to kiss them.
Though angry, Amyntas remained silent out of fear of the Persians. But his son Alexander, present and witnessing this, being young and inexperienced with hardship, couldn't endure it longer. In his impatience he told Amyntas, "Father, honor your age and go rest. Don't continue drinking. I'll remain and provide our guests whatever is appropriate." Amyntas, understanding Alexander intended violence, said, "My son, I perceive your meaning, that anger moves you, and you wish to send me away to commit some violent act. Therefore I ask you not to harm these men, lest it ruin us, but endure what you're seeing. However, regarding my departure, I'll do as you request." After Amyntas left following this appeal, Alexander told the Persians, "Guests, you have complete freedom with these women. You may have relations with all or as many as you wish. On this matter, you decide. But now, since bedtime approaches, and I see you're well drunk, let these women go bathe, if that pleases you, and receive them back afterward." Since the Persians readily agreed, he dismissed the women to their quarters. Alexander then dressed an equal number of beardless men in women's clothing, gave them daggers, and led them into the banquet hall. As he brought them in, he said, "Persians, you seem to have been entertained with a complete feast. Everything we had and everything we could acquire has been provided, and especially this chief thing. We freely give you our mothers and sisters, so you fully understand that you're honored as you deserve, and so you can report to your king that a Greek man ruling the Macedonians under him treated you well at table and in bed." Having said this, Alexander seated a Macedonian man disguised as a woman beside each Persian, and when the Persians tried to touch them, they were killed. These Persians perished this way, along with their entire retinue, carriages, servants, and all their equipment, which was destroyed with them. Later, when the Persians conducted an extensive search for these men, Alexander cunningly stopped it by giving large sums of money and his own sister Gygaea to Bubares, the Persian commander leading the investigation. Thus, the deaths of these Persians were concealed. That these descendants of Perdiccas are Greeks, as they claim, I personally know, and I will prove it in my later account. Furthermore, the Olympic Games officials who managed the competitions determined they were Greek. When Alexander wanted to compete and entered the arena, the Greeks who would race against him tried to exclude him, saying the contest was for Greeks, not barbarians. However, when Alexander proved his Argive descent, he was judged Greek, and when he entered the foot race, his lot was drawn with the first position.